Welcome to the Mindset Evolution podcast, powered by Self-Recoding, world-class consulting and coaching services that you can access at selfrecoding.com. Self-Recoding is a unique blend of neuro-healing modalities that will empower you to reach your full potential. Join thousands of others who have experienced rapid results in their journey of personal growth. Now enjoy our show where we bring you tools for a powerful mind with your hosts, Kathi and Daisy.
And hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Bald and Blonde Mindset Evolution, the podcast that gives you tools for a powerful mind. I'm Kathi Tate, your host from Australia. With me, as always, your host from America, Daisy Papp. Hi, Daisy.
Hello. How are you? It's good to see you. And I know it's getting summer over there. And that is lovely to hear because we're heading into winter on the Northern Hemisphere.
Yes, it is heating up. And unfortunately, the flies come with the heat, which aren't as fun. But it is nice to not be cold.
Good.
So I've got an interesting topic today, Daisy. It's a English cliche, which I'm going to explain in a minute. And a cliche is a saying or an old wives' tale or, something that's been handed down. Certainly this saying's been around in my culture for a long time. And I also see it as a bit of a warning in a relationship or close any kind of relationship. So the saying is familiarity breeds contempt. Now, what that actually means, over time, familiarity can lead to you taking each other for granted and not respecting each other anymore. And I think that this is a real issue. The longer a relationship goes on, the more I see this. Now, it doesn't happen to everybody, but I can certainly tell you I've got a couple of people very close to me and they speak to each other so horribly, it makes me cringe and not want to be in the room. And that is exactly what I mean by this saying. And so that's what we're going to talk about today.
Okay, great. So bring it on. What would you like to hear from me, or which parts of my brain would you like to access when it comes to this saying that is such an old cliche in your culture?
Yeah, well, I think that you've probably run across it yourself working with people, because I think that this is kind of a very common situation that can occur in long-term relationships. I mean, it certainly has the opportunity to occur in shorter ones, but it's usually something that grows over time, may not be noticeable because it's subtle. And, if you do anything long enough, it becomes normal, right? It becomes normal in your world if you do anything long enough. And I found that when I got trapped in a domestic violence relationship, that the cycle becomes your normal because you are in it and it becomes your world. And I think that works here, that over time, little changes can happen, or you start speaking to each other differently. You dismiss each other's opinions, or, you lose some of that respect and what we talked about last week, some of that admiration for each other over time. If you don't nourish those things, it can happen out of carelessness, not necessarily out of malice. And I want to know whether you've worked with clients like that and how you help them, and how we can help our listeners out there that might be experiencing this in their partnerships.
Whether I did or I didn't work with clients who called it how you call it as the title of this episode, it is very simple. And I like simplicity. I do believe simplicity holds truth. The more complicated it begins to be, the more options are there to bend it as we need it to be on our way to fit our agenda. Therefore, I think it is a very good idea to simplify it. So if I take you for granted, Kathi, no matter what type or sort of relationship you and I have over almost 4 years now, since you found me, yes, I learned that already, that I am pointing that out. And I really appreciate that. That's so adorable. And if you took me for granted or I took you for granted, then taking one another for granted is only a symptom. It's not the root cause. And I like to go to the root cause because I have so many weeds on my little beach here. And I pick them. I call it beach yoga. It's not that fancy, by the way, so I don't do yoga. But because bending down and picking it out of the sand, I call it beach yoga because I retrain my brain to make it clearly positive and attractive to me and my body to do it. When you and I take ourselves for granted, then the root cause is something very, very different. Meaning that, I do take you for granted because, you will be around whenever I'm nasty, whenever I'm in a bad mood, whenever I don't show up. By the way, dear listeners, this is not what's happening in the background. Otherwise, we would not be able to do the show for so long and since so long. So I see it on my weeds that when I don't pluck it out with the roots together, it will regrow. Therefore, I don't do symptoms. I want to know what is there. Do you feel superior? And because you feel superior, you think that I'm so little, or you can belittle me, or you attempt to belittle me, that, yes, I will stick around until I die because there's no option in your mind that maybe I grow sick and tired of your behavior. I'd like to share a little insight when I work with couples. It is tremendously interesting to see how people have the tendency to blame the other, no matter who the other is. No matter in this case scenario what I'm referring to, if the husband blames the wife or the wife blames the husband. Yeah? Getting out of victimhood and getting out of the victim mood is the gigantic step necessary to stop what you refer as the title of this episode. And I circle back to the very simple analogy or metaphor or picture that a relationship, imagine, is a roof. And there are two columns holding that relationship. There's human A and human B, and they make up a couple. And when each individual takes care of themselves for themselves, and the other gets the benefit, and the other one takes care of themselves for themselves, and the other partner, so the partner, gets the benefits, now then they are capable stably, I'm not even sure if that word exists, but to stabilize the roof and make sure that, I do everything and invest in me being the best version I can be so I can carry that roof the best way possible. And I wish, let me start actually some years or months or weeks prior to that, I choose a partner who is capable of the same. And then what you are talking about, that symptom will never, ever show up. Impossible. I wonder if you can see that.
I can. I just do tend to think it's quite rare for people to have their stuff that sorted out.
Okay.
Now, they should before going into a relationship.
You really want to open that can of worms? I'm happy to look at all these worms and share each and every one of them with you.
We've got 20 minutes, so you go hard. Open that can.
Well, you opened it. I don't take responsibility for that. But so a human, no matter where they were born and no matter where they're heading, a human desires partnership and wants a partner in their life. Now, I'd like to break it down because this also applies to business relations, friend relations, job relations, partnership relations, relationship relations. I cannot choose my in-laws, but I can choose my partner. Agreed? So when I go in there not knowing who I am and not knowing what I want, and then therefore I want the one who I don't know that I want to fix what I don't even know to fix within me, I wonder if it's confusing enough that everyone can hear out of this little example that this is quite confusing and this is quite messed up. So it's not about the others. Stop looking at the construction site that is not yours or not your responsibility and not your territory. I circle back to the island model. It's your island where you can make changes. And it's not easy to make these changes. It takes effort. And it takes discipline. It takes self-discipline. It takes a fixed start to never, ever lose sight of, to keep going, to keep going, to keep going. So when I start focusing on me, bettering me, every interaction with everyone else will change. I give you an example. I had a conversation with a young lady. She's beautiful. She doesn't know yet, but I think she's beautiful, and I've seen her heart. And I do believe that she is sometimes behaving like Miss Impossible because she's losing her connection to her heart. That's my guess, and I could be totally wrong. And please, lady, excuse me if I'm wrong. And I admit, if I'm wrong, I admit that I was wrong. So she brings up an example that she was not in a good mood, and she walks into a store and someone helped her out to ship something, whatever that was. And that lady was so patient with her and was so kind that her mood was uplifted. And she was so grateful. Okay, I get that. Then she went into a car and the driver was in not such a good mood, and she was able to uplift the driver, paying forward. That's the beauty of her heart. And I've seen it. But she believes that it requires the people around her to be uplifting so she can be uplifted. And that is where she gets it the wrong way. And I give you an example because I tested it today. I walked in to several stores because I was looking for a few very specific things that are not often required or requested by the general public. And I was in such a good mood because I knew that the human I'm facing, whoever that is, who I may have never ever seen before, is going to be the best they can with what they know. That's fact, isn't it? So when I am capable to inspire anyone in this world to bring out the best in them, then I did my part. And I'm not depending and awaiting or expecting anyone to lift me up because that's my job. And I give you another beautiful example from a beautiful lady. She also has a beautiful heart, who had a beautiful experience where she was challenged. She wanted to board a plane. Long story short, she could have checked in her luggage, but she didn't because the lady at the counter said, no, you can take it on the plane. Well, when she was boarding the plane, they told her, no, you can't. And they wanted to charge her 5 times as much as it would have cost if she would have checked it in originally. So what she tried to do, she tried to pull on another sweater, another this, another pants, and another that, so that she fits the weight restrictions. And guess what? She kept her cool. She kept her dignity, and therefore, in a dignified way, she accepted the situation. That didn't stop her creativity. And guess what? A gentleman from business class offered her, hey, I'm traveling business. No one's checking my weight and my size of my hand luggage. I take it on for you. Solution found. So now the question back, is it me who is shouting into the forest and then the echo comes back? Or am I the echo? I'd like to give a little bit of clarification here. When you stand under a bridge and you say, hi, then usually you get the reflection of the sound, and then you hear your own voice back in delay several times. So are you the one shouting, or are you the echo? So the one lady that I refer to, who has a beautiful heart, and I think she's quite disconnected, that's why she's suffering. That's how I see it. I could be wrong again. Because she believes that someone else must echo to her so that she be uplifted. That's where people get it wrong. I see it over and over and over again. Not only in intimate relationships, not only in 20, 30, 40-year-old marriages, but also in business partnerships, in communities, in factories, in companies, in corporations. Now, let's go back to the roots. You are responsible to be the best you can be. Because otherwise there would no one still be alive who survived Holocaust by one simple rule, by one simple mindset rule. They did not allow themselves to be affected by the reality as it presented itself to them. But they kept internally within themselves a beauty of life that no one could touch. Did I get out all the worms, or are there still some that I left untouched?
I was just going to ask you if you've eaten all your worms.
I don't eat worms. And never will, by the way.
Sorry. I was going to ask you if you emptied your can of worms.
Well,
was it my can of worms?
No, I'm not thinking that it's anyone's can of worms. I do believe it is a can of worms, and some people have misconceptions and therefore suffer. And it is so simple to stop that suffering once we realize, okay, I take responsibility for my mood. And if you're in a bad mood, then, hey, you're welcome to your bad mood. Enjoy it. Let me know when it's over. I'll be back. Because in the meantime, I can get into my inner world.
Now, I think that's really important, what you said right there, because I think the tendency of a lot of people, and I say that because, as always, when I've experienced something personally, it usually means other people out there have too. I'm pretty generic in a lot of ways. I've made some pretty normal mistakes or had some pretty normal challenges that most people come across.
Me too. I just don't speak that openly about it.
Right. Because I think that it's fairly common to react to people's moods, for one, to buy into that energy because you're in this relationship and you really care about how they're feeling and you feel sorry for them. And I think probably women do this perhaps more because we're more emotional creatures. And we get dragged down by that energy or emotion or whatever they're experiencing instead of doing what you just said and go, you're welcome to your bad mood. You let me know when you're done with it. Because that's separating their issue, their shoebox, if you like. Go and listen to the shoebox episodes, guys. It's epic. Their shoebox. And I think that that's a key learning, especially it was a key learning for me, was to not go on the same energy ride with the other person because it's very easy to get dragged into that when you're in a relationship.
Absolutely, yes. Now, by the way, when I'm put on the spot, how can I do that? How can I not allow it to affect me? Simple. Tuning fork. When I have a tuning fork tuned to A, usually 440 hertz. Why that is a different story. And you have another tuning fork sitting there in a pedestal, standing freely. And I hear on my desk hit the tuning fork. Ding. That other one tuned to the same tune frequency, hertz, is going to start resonating. So when you start resonating with anyone's bad mood, whose frequency can be adjusted then? Oh, wait a minute. Is it not that when I resonate with your bad mood that I can change my frequency? That is the homework to do. It's not that you shall change your mood so I can vibrate on a different tone. No, forget about it. Take care of your own tones.
Yeah.
Verbally, tonality, moody, as long as people continue doing the blame game, which was a brilliant topic, by the way. I really think this was absolutely really good topic. And I think so is this one. Nevertheless, however we name this topic, this particular episode, it goes back to self.
Doesn't it always?
Well, I wonder how many more episodes will we need to produce until people get it, because let's move to the next level and show them how to do it and accept it as fact. Because when I blame you because you're tuned to A and I resonate when you hit your sound fork, I blame you? No, I have an own dial. I have a little tuning button on me. I am responsible for my own frequency that I hold within.
Yeah, for sure.
I get it. There are many people who say, yes, for example, the monks in Tibet took them 20,000 hours of practice to meditate. Nowadays, we see on the MRIs that it's possible to get a similar state of brain with very effective tools that don't take you 20,000 hours to practice to reach.
Yeah, I agree. And so I think what we've got here are two really important points. And I think one of them is to stop reacting or getting sucked into someone else's energy state, because that's theirs. Whatever that is that's going on for them, you can be empathetic about it without being sucked into it. And then I think the second point we're making is that we must, again, look within. because we're in control of ourselves. If we go with your column and roof analogy, which I think is a very good one, because it really shows, one, that a column must be strong structurally, and that is us, ourselves, and we're responsible for that. But then two, it takes at least two columns to hold a roof up. And so the relationship cannot possibly work unless you're both strong columns.
Okay, and whose responsibility is it to be a strong column? Self.
Each their own.
There you go. Now, that is what I think can be accepted as factual. I could be totally wrong. After working with so many humans from so many different places, different age groups, different cultures, different traditions, different faith groups, gender, and so forth, to me, it's so clear. And when we stop the blame game, because here's the thing, taking care of me and making an adjustment in me, I'm not even saying change, because change sounds so scary, but adjustment, fine tune. And it's not easy to do. And therefore, many people choose to blame the other and never get the fine tune, which is a waste of energy, or I'd say very bad ROI because it's minus. It's in the negative, return on investment. So therefore, I think many humans just try to continue blaming because it's easier than looking inside. Once that stops, I have the feeling that most relationships can be either healed or dissolved peacefully. I've seen it hundreds and hundreds of times. Self. And now when we go back to the word ego and how it's, oh yes, you're so egoistic and yes, your ego. Well, go back to the roots. Again, beach yoga on my little beach, picking the weeds. The roots are what matters. Go to the roots of the word ego. Actually what it means, definition, self. Has nothing to do, oh, ego this, ego that. The majority of people who I asked, who say ego, yes, his ego, her ego, their ego, they don't even know how to define ego.
Mm-hmm.
Stop.
Well, we did an episode on ego, so please do go listen to that one as well.
We did? Really?
We did, Daisy. Well, I don't expect you to remember them all. We have done 181 plus our salon short videos.
Yes.
So we're almost at 200, I would say. So you're forgiven for not remembering
Thank you.
all of them. But yes, we certainly have done one on ego. And as I recall, it was a very interesting conversation where we delved into exactly what you've just said. And so I encourage our listeners to go back. I encourage you to go back and listen to every episode because, you know, just quietly, they're all awesome. And they have helped me grow and develop so much over the last 3.5, going on 4 years I've known Daisy. It's incredible. I can guarantee that if you listen and practice what we suggest or inspire you with, that you too will have that growth and it will change your world. I can promise you that without a doubt. Well, we're going to call it. I think that's been a fantastic episode. And Daisy got to open a can of worms, which is always fun. We'd love to know what you guys think. So please do contact us. You can do that on our website at baldandblonde.live. While you're there, please support us. There's a support us page. Buy us a cup of coffee. Become a regular contributor. We would love that. We've got some exciting things coming up real soon for you that I'm not going to tell you about today.
Of course she doesn't.
Over the next episodes. Got to keep something under my hat. That's it from us. Don't forget to visit our major sponsor, selfrecoding.com. And I feel Daisy has a final word.
Next time I share why I drilled 99 coconuts today.
99 coconuts. Mm-hmm. Well, that does sound intriguing. I look forward to hearing about that. That's it from us today. We'll be back next week with another awesome episode. We are Bald and Blonde.
Mindset Evolution. Talk to you next time. Thank you for listening in to the Bald and Blonde Mindset Evolution podcast. Please share our show with your family and friends. Together, we make this world a better place for you, for us, for future generations. When you need consulting or coaching, visit selfrecoding.com. Also, please remember to rate us 5 stars and leave a review and support us at baldandblonde.live. Talk to you soon.